Okay, so this is Mario with Mia Microflight, and in this video I am going to be talking about the MIA TUFF crash cards for FPV racing quadcopters that I developed specifically for racing quadcopters. You may have seen some earlier videos that I did already with these, so this may not be something new for some of you viewing this video. But what I want to do is I want to discuss some of the benefits of these guards. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I've taken some of these models already to the field, and people have seen this. And one of the first questions I get asked often is, where did you get these guards? So, I told them I made these kits for my own FPV quadcopters, but I decided to make these as upgrades also for pretty much every other FPV quadcopter that's out there. So I am going to be offering these crash guards as an upgrade kit that you can install to your particular quadcopter, and it doesn't matter what brand you have. I mean, these things are very universal, and that's actually the way I intended these things to be. Not only work with my designs, but also work with every single FPV quadcopter out there. Number one, let me just show you this particular one that I've been flying with. Now this is would be in the size of a 250, typical 250 size quadcopter, and this has got my own style and way of doing things. The crash guards are simply attached to the bottom, and this would be an underside installation. And what this does, the way I have it here, is it not only protects the underside of the frame, so you have full protection for the front. So in case you come down hard or you happen to land sideways, these guards protect the model all the way around. So you have that protection. Most of the quadcopters that are out there, in fact, none that I've seen up to this point that I started talking about these guards, don't have any sort of protection for the frame. They do have protection for the motors with these fences and skirts that some companies sell these with, but they have no protection for the quadcopter in itself. And one of the reasons I selected to do these guards is so that it'll give me protection, because I was also flying without the guards at some point when I started designing these, and I started scratching and basically ruining my frames. And so I didn't want that to happen to my later designs, and so I developed these guards for that purpose. But mainly it's to provide a impact crash guard to the quadcopter, mainly at the front and at the back, because typically sometimes you land backwards, you land frontward, but you also land sideways. So as you can see in this video, this particular guard gives you that protection. And I think it's pretty clear here. You get the idea. So that's one of the main benefits of the crash guards. Let me bring this over here. Now this is a little bit different, this design here, which is a little more compact and a little more streamlined. As you can see here, it's a sandwich design. And this one here has, it's also a sandwich, but it has protection, full protection for the motors. And the reason for the guards being installed underside the frame. In this particular one, I have installed the guards upright, meaning it sticks a little bit higher than the flat side of the frame. It still provides protection for the frames. You can see here, let me do the same thing I was doing with the other one. So it still provides that protection, and it also provides protection, a crash fence for the motors. So if this was to be installed with motors, I don't have the motors here because this is recent frames that I just assembled, for the purpose of showing the guards. But the motors are there, and the guards provide that protection. And because they stick out that far, they also protect the sides of the frame and also the components, the motors in this case. You'll also notice in some of my earlier videos that I designed quadcopters with a full frame. I call those the Phantom Racing Formula 1 type quadcopters, and they have full guards without having these bumpers here. They have full guards designed as part of the frame itself, and those protect totally the propeller all the way around. So they have full protection. So if the quadcopter lands in any way, the propellers are well protected. Well, if you land upside down, these parts tend to get scratched, and but it's not major. Now, somebody asked me, well, what's the purpose of having this when your blades are going to get, trashed anyway? What I have found is this. The propellers don't need as much protection because, number one, the propellers are very inexpensive in comparison to the quadcopter, the frames, or the motors. So the propellers are not that important as far as protection is concerned. I am more concerned with the protection to the actual frame and protection for the camera, the sensitive equipment. I'll come back to that because, as you're seeing here, I have these things sticking up. Okay, and one of my biggest pet peeves has been these things sticking up, and one of the reasons I have these sticking up is to illustrate that problem there. But let me go back here. As far as the crash guard is concerned, is to protect basically the frame and the motors, and give you full protection on the frame crash guard. So as far as the propellers are concerned, I've been flying these things with ball nose propellers, and those are quite durable. I love those propellers. And here's another little model that it's kind of in line with this MIA Phantom 172, but this is an earlier prototype version. So if you fly with ball nose propellers, I probably don't have to tell you that. You probably have found out that these things are very durable. And I have gone through hundreds of crashes with these propellers. They get nicked. I mean, these propellers are nicked and scratched, but they still perform, and I have not broken one single one of them. This particular model also has these other crash guards here. They're very similar to these guards here, but they're smaller in diameter. I like these better because they have a little more beef, more material. They're also very lightweight, and they have a little bit of flexibility there. I mean, you don't want these things too rigid because then you're transferring the shock impact, to other components. You got to have some give in that respect. So that's the reason why I selected these particular bumpers, and these are the ones that I'm offering as an upgrade kit for every single racing quadcopter out there. This is the Mia Microflight TUFF crash guard bumpers. Going back to this particular design, and this started as a Phantom design, let me add that, but it just doesn't have the rest of the components here that protect the propeller. So I took those out because I wanted to install these guards, and so that's how this came about. I don't like having these components sticking out as you see it here, but basically that's how you typically fly 99% of the quadcopters that are out there, the ones that I call flying bricks, the ones that are even stack even higher with that. And that's one of the reasons why in my later designs, I started to do this kind of thing, put these antennas, or rather put the cameras, embed them inside, not really at the front of the quadcopters, but a little bit further back, so you have full protection here, there. The Mia Phantom 172 was and is designed, with this upper plate here, and that is to provide an additional crash guard to the camera while allowing you to have full view at the front here, and still having the camera well protected way behind the front, where most quadcopters, I've seen cameras placed right at the front here and with no crash guards, nothing. The first thing that goes is the camera. So with this, at least, you have full protection up front. And you have these plates here in case you flip it upside down. You can also protect the camera. But it's also designed as a canopy for the antenna here, for the clover leaf, the very same clover leaf that I showed on my other one here, or something similar to that, to be installed right at the center, and this creates a canopy for the clover leaf antenna. There's a lot more going on here that needs to be installed. The VTX can be installed at the back. The receiver can be installed at the front here. Just the little tiny receivers these days are very small, especially the types that operate via PPM. One single wire for all the channel signaling, and plus and a minus. So they're very compact, and so that's the purpose of this particular frame is to use those components. The battery is mounted directly underneath, and it's just simply strapped with that. Now, what I typically do on my racing quadcopters is I use a pocket, or I use a sleeve for the batteries that's made out of this material here. This is polyethylene core fluid material, and I attach that to the bottom, and that completely protects the battery. And I like the battery underslung on my quadcopters because they just keep the weight underneath, the center line of all the motors. In my opinion, it just feels more solid, more stable. So basically, if you are interested in purchasing one of these crash guards from Mia Microflight as an upgrade kit for your particular quadcopter, do email us at miadsgns@cox.net and tell us the distance between this and this edge here of your mounting arms for your motors. That's all we need, and then we'll size the length of the crash guard accordingly. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching this video. This is Mario with me on Microflight.